Good morning, all you YouTubers, and greetings from the sunny land of Arizona, where it's probably going to be over 100 today. But that's all right, because in the winter, it'll be cold. Anyway, we love it here, and it's a great spot. And one of these days, I'll take some video and show you what it really is like here in Payson, Arizona. In any event, today I'm going to be discussing Matthew chapter 6 in the first few verses. This is an incredibly important set of concepts, and the reason is that it goes to the heart of what a lot of things, a lot of people I should say, do with their religion. So let's read this section here. Beware, he says, Jesus says, of practicing your righteousness before men to be noticed by them. Otherwise, you have no reward with your Father who is in heaven. And the point here is that little phrase, to be noticed by them. Jesus is absolutely against show. So, when you give to the poor, he says, do not sound a trumpet before you as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets, so that they may be honored by men. Truly, I say to you, they have their reward in full. They're not going to get anything else from God. It isn't pleasing to God. He doesn't love it. He doesn't want them to do it that way. And frankly, he'd rather they didn't do it, because it's all for show. But when you give to the poor, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. In other words, you're supposed to be not necessarily secretive, but just don't show off. So that your giving will be in secret, and your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you. And then in verse 5, when you pray, don't be like the hypocrites, for they love to stand and pray in the synagogues and on the street corners, so that they may be seen by men. Truly I say to you, they have their reward in full. So this whole section, this verses 1 through 5, is about not showing off to people. And this goes to the heart of a lot of what Christianity does today. A lot of it is done for show. Why do you suppose people have gigantic churches? And they show these churches and all the crowds when they do a television show. Now, I'm not criticizing them. I don't know what's in their heart. But I know what it looks like. And I know what Jesus said. And when you want people to see Jesus, you kind of stand behind and don't show yourself off. So that's tremendously important. So, Jesus' principles for today are, beware of practicing your righteousness before men. Now, the King James Version has alms, and the Greek text has righteousness as, the idea is, when you're going to do something nice for someone, don't call everyone around. Don't say, hey, look what I'm doing. Just do it. Don't practice your righteousness before men to be noticed by them. Otherwise, you have no reward with your Father who is in heaven. So this applies directly to Christians. In other words, if you're a Christian, if you're a child of God, if you love God, let Him see what you do. Don't show it off. So when you give to the poor, do not sound a trumpet before you as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets, so that they may be honored by men. Now, Jesus is using hypocrites in a particular way here to identify the leaders of the Jewish religion of that day, because that's what they did. So he could have said scribes and Pharisees. He could have said, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees. And what that is, that leaven of the Pharisees, that thing that mingles throughout all that they do and everything that they are, Jesus tells us later on, is hypocrisy. It's that pretend religion that God hates so much. God loves truth. He loves people who are down to earth, all the way from the top of their head to the soles of their shoes and inside. He loves that. So therefore, Jesus says, be like that. When you're doing something good, just do it. Do it quietly. Don't call a video crew together to say, wow, look at what I'm doing. Don't act like you're so important that nobody has a right to see anything but you in those good deeds. If you call that video crew together and you take videos of yourself feeding the poor, taking care of the poor, doing all good things for the poor, that may be okay if you're focusing on how the other person, that is the person who's watching the video, can help too. But if what you're doing is showing off how good you are, you're not good. You're a hypocrite. That's what Jesus says. And so he says to be very careful of how you practice that righteousness. Because that righteousness, that mercy, which is one way that that's translated in some versions, that mercy, that kindness, has got to focus on the person you're being kind to, not on you. Hope God blesses you with this teaching, and I hope your day is going well, and I pray that God may fill your life with His presence. This is Steve Bradley signing off for the God Loves People YouTube channel.